Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is In A Barbie World,
The podcast where we look at every Barbie movie from 1987 to the present day.
from fairy tales to literary classics.
From Mariposa to Mermaidia.
It's time to get unboxed,
Readjust your lippy
rock the ball gown.
and let's get our Barbie on.
Barbie in A Christmas Carol.
I don't know what to say. As no idea when this is coming out, but obviously I say obviously, it's obviously to you and I. It's only just October.
Yeah.
And when I watched this last week, I wasn't really ready for carols, but
I'm like deep in like horror movie fest.
yeah.
And then I've had to take a sideline to go and do a Dickens adaptation with Christmas carols. But Barbie stars in her first holiday movie. Woo!
And my DVD is a box set of this and Barbie in a Perfect Christmas.
Oh, a
So
Christmas special.
The DVD still didn't work, and I had to bloody rent it off
Oh my
Google
God.
Play. So literally, I think two. I think of that set I bought off it, someone was laughing at me because I've now only two of the movies so far I think have worked.
Oh,
Oh.
God. Oh,
And I still
Lord.
get people see the pile of them and they go, "Ooh, why have you got Barbie movies?"
Yeah.
Wow, if you'd like to listen.
Yeah. You heard us Spotify.com. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So here we are in A Christmas Carol. Like, where do we begin? Okay, so we're back to, and we haven't had this for a couple of movies, but we're back to the structure of Shelly is being a bitch and Barbie needs to tell her a story.
Yeah, so I think this is the fourth time. So Stephen has been on his favourite website, Barbie Movies Wiki. So this is apparently the fourth time we've had the structure with specifically Kelly Shelley.
Right.
I think it has happened with other people.
Yes.
And I've got some good news and some bad news.
Oh.
This is the last time we have Shelley Kelly as a framing
It's a
device.
framing device. No.
I'm not saying there aren't other framing devices, but I think it's the last time we have Shelley Kelly.
Oh.
And I'm going to be honest with you, mate.
Yeah.
Not liking Christmas isn't a bad thing. I think, yeah, there's something going on here that I think, I think it's all right.
Christmas Carol, like,
Yeah.
that's the vibe, isn't it? Like,
It is, of course it is. But when you want to play this to 8-year-old, 4-year-old children, I think you do
Yeah.
have to have a thing. It is actually also okay
Yeah.
to be non-Christian and
Yeah.
not necessarily be into a lot of the things that Christmas gives you. However, you're right.
Completely.
Clearly, I do understand that this is just a Christmas story, and indeed probably the Christmas story from which
Yes.
lots of things that Dickens writes about are actually have become part of our traditions. They weren't traditions before, and certainly Victoria, Queen. One of the things Queen Victoria and Albert absolutely did was introduce a lot of these traditions that we now
Yeah.
take as normal.
As a given, the Christmas tree, for example.
Absolutely. So I'm okay with it. I thought the introduction went on a bit, and I just didn't
Oh my
really-
God, it lasts so long. But this is literally the first thing I wrote under Christmas Carol. And then I've drawn a little Christmas tree as well. This is the first thing I've written. Barbie, because it's Kelly Sheridan Barbie.
It is for now.
Now. But Barbie looks fit as fuck. Like, she looks so hot in this opening. She's got a fabulous dress on. Her hair is done in the most majestic way possible. Her makeup is like nothing I've ever seen before. Like, she looks on fire. Like, she looks so
Yeah.
good.
Because she's about to go out to a ball, isn't she?
She's going to a charity gala to collect money for the hospital because they don't have the NHS although we could probably do with fundraising the NHS here in England.
Well, in this pseudo, oh no, because they're in America, aren't they? Yes,
So
because
they're
this
in
is
America
Barbie.
in the
This
modern day of 2008.
this does get a bit Inception-y, like the
A
last
little
time we
bit
had
weird.
a Barbie Christmassy movie with the Nutcracker.
Mm.
By the way, who also has a cameo appearance on a shelf. I didn't see it, but apparently, yeah, I think it's actually in the main story. But he does. He is there. They love doing this. I love that. I love this little wiki thing that people take it so seriously.
They're like,
and it's like this model was used here, and we'll talk. But there's a couple more. We'll have a little section at the end of Stephen reads a wiki. But yeah, sorry.
wiki. So we're in the framing device, and Shelly's being a brat. So Barbie's trying to get her to go to this charity gala, and Shelly's like, no, I want to be eating candy and watching movies and doing all of our Christmas Eve traditions, which, to be honest, I get. Like, Christmas Eve is very important to me. My sister and I make sausage rolls for Christmas Day, and we make mince pies, and we watch the 2002 adaptation of The Snow Queen that was a Hallmark two-parter series starring Bridget Fonda as the titular character. And we then make mulled wine and watch Muppet Christmas Carol in the evening. And that is Christmas Eve. And if you try and veer from that in any way, shape, or form, then you meet an untimely death. Like, that is what Christmas Eve is.
So that's kind of interesting. So me and my ex, when we were raising our children, Nikki didn't invent, well, yeah, she did. She has invented a whole bunch of things that they do on Christmas Eve, and merged them with some of her family traditions, and I think lots of families and sisters and brothers and people have these traditions of things they do. It's not just about, might be you go to church on Christmas Eve when you never go any other time of the year. Yeah. But the ladies in my life growing up, they have invented these traditions. So there's always a new pair of pajamas for all of them. Christmas pajamas that only are worn once, right? There's a whole thing about a Christmas tree who gives extra presents, which I've never really bought into. But apparently I'm not the only person with this. They are in their 20s now, and what tends to happen on Christmas Day, I'll come round with their presents, but they're fucking grown women, and we still go through all these routines. Outside, there's going to be a little dish full of milk, a half-eaten carrot, because Rudolph's eating the fucking carrot. Not enough carrots for the other reindeer, just Rudolph.
Just Rudolph.
And something else is out there, but it's always the same. And they answer the door in their pajamas. They get really excited, and then they open a stocking, which is just some cheap thing we bought from a pop-up store 20 years ago, but it's there, and it's all over and done with in this amazing rush. Yeah. And then suddenly it's 7:30 in the morning, and now we're going to start making food or whatever. So I'm still involved in it in that way. But everybody I speak to, there is a thing. There's a film we'll watch on Christmas Eve, or that I have a film I watch every Christmas as well. And it is kind of exciting, and that's why I think I'm on Shelley's side, because going to a fucking ball sounds like a ball ache.
Yeah, you don't break from the Christmas Eve tradition. Christmas Eve is the best day. It's the better day because it's the anticipation day. If you walk down the high street, everybody's tipping their hat and wishing you a Merry Christmas, which is delightful. Like, usually no one makes eye contact. It's a really lovely day. It's such a great day. So I completely get it.
Are you going to take the Christmas pajamas on? I'll pass that tradition to you.
There's a thing of the Christmas Eve box that has become more and more of a tradition here in this country, and it sounds very similar, where you're gifted a DVD, some hot chocolate, some new pajamas, and the idea is that you get into your new Christmas pajamas and you watch the Christmas film, and then blah blah blah. The trouble with that, in my head, is that there's already so many Christmas films that we need to watch, and Netflix just keep bringing out more and more content. So what's a girl to do? Last year it was Castle for Christmas with Carrie Yules, and this year it's going to be the Lindsay Lohan one. So, and that's on top of the Princess Switch, which has now become a staple alongside Home Alone and Batman Returns. So, there's too many Christmas films now.
You basically need to start on the 23rd, don't you?
Mate, like, Halloween will happen, and then I will... This is not a joke. I'm not exaggerating. I will send a poll to my... like an Excel document to my family with a list of all of the Christmas films. And I will say, right, this is on, like, November 1st. Who wants to watch what? And then because you have to plan it, because obviously my sister's in Wales, I'm now in Norwich, and my parents are in Suffolk, and we're only gonna get together for like 1 week leading up to Christmas, if that, if not just days leading up to Christmas, and then the week after Christmas, where it's kind of too late to watch certain holiday movies. So you have to be like, right, what are we watching and when? Who wants to watch The Grinch? Because if it's just me, I'll watch it at the beginning of December. Who wants to watch The Holiday? Because if it's everyone, we need to prioritize it for the 23rd of December. Who wants to watch Love Actually? Not me this year, so actually you guys watch that on the 21st before I arrive. Like, and we have to meticulously plan who wants to watch which Christmas movie at what time and why and how. And then, like, my dad will always want to watch Arthur Christmas, but it depends on whether anyone else is in that mood that year. I've insisted that Klaus now becomes a tradition, so everybody has to watch Klaus with me. Nobody ever wants to watch Batman Returns, so I have to watch that early December by myself. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Oh my god, I've never felt so scared in my life. I need to put that in my Tinder bio. If you've got really, really long-term Christmas traditions, swipe left.
It's not even traditions.
You've invented it.
As many holiday movies as is physically possible within this month. But if you also want to watch them, then I'll wait and watch them with you. But if no one else wants to watch Home Alone, I need to know that so I can watch it on the 15th.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, but that way, the family tradition, you've invented it and you've put it on. And if there are any little I don't know if your sister's got children or anything like that will end up being a thing that they all do, and come back in 50 years time and find how that tradition has changed. Anyway, one thing we're both not doing is going to a charity ball, right?
Yeah, fuck that.
Because we've got too much to fucking do.
Yeah, literally. There's too much happening on Christmas Eve to go to a charity ball. And so fair enough, Shelley, but Barbie's like, well, I'm going to guilt trip you by grabbing this snow globe off the shelf and telling you a story. And the story is Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, which is brilliant because, of course, Muppet Christmas Carol is a staple. Everybody knows it. It's the best adaptation of the story. And so that is the sort of pinnacle that we're holding this to in a way. And what's wonderful about A Muppet Christmas Carol is it goes to all of the dark places. So I was very excited to see if Barbie was going to do the same thing.
Yeah, and I mean, adaptations of Christmas. There's Scrooged as well, which lots of people
I've
like.
I've never seen Scrooged.
It's the Bill Murray
I've never
one.
Seen it. Yeah, the Bill Murray one.
And there are some really nice adaptations of A Christmas Carol. Yeah, and it is, and of course, obviously this isn't going to happen, but there is a darkness to the Christmas Carol story certainly in Christmas Future.
Yes.
Which is also part of Christmas. You know, like the M.R. James ghost stories. That's another thing about Christmas. The Dark
Christmas
Night drawing
ghostly.
People, families being together, telling stories. You know, and a complete diversion. But I just saw the BFI are re-releasing all the M.R. James things that the BBC used to do, and I'm kind of excited about that. Because,
I love them.
And I was
now that I'm in Norwich, Whistle and I'll Come to You is set in Norfolk.
So I was wondering how dark they were going to go.
Yeah.
We'll move on.
So we meet our protagonist, Eden Starling. She's an opera singer. She's our Ebenezer Scrooge. And I didn't pay attention, and it was only when we started logging into Skype that I was like, wait, do they have English accents or American accents?
So they do. This is the thing that made me most excited about this movie. So this version of Barbie, Eden Starling version of Barbie, is actually voiced by Morwenna Banks.
Yeah.
Who is David Baddiel's wife. Not that anyone should be known by who their partner is, but people, if you're not English, don't know, would you know David
Google
Baddiel is? But yeah, she's a really, since the 90s, she was in a comedy show called Absolutely. I mean, she's a really talented comedy actress. She's also the voice of Mama Pig on Peppa Pig,
Nice.
amongst other things. And I was really excited because it's a real English. She's from Cornwall.
Oh my god!
You can't. So yes, they actually got an English actress to.
This is the thing, because I've written a lot of quotes. I think Eden has such a brilliant vocal performance in this movie, and so much of what she says was so memorable and it stood out to me as a lot of fun because of the voice actress. So she did a really, really good job.
Yeah.
And very early on, she's a massively talented, beautiful young opera singer who hates having to do Christmas carols and wants to be taken seriously as a star, even though she has her own theatre that she apparently runs and a whole rep of people that she apparently employs. But whatever.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff in this movie. We're just going to have to say that's not how it works, but okay.
Yeah.
It's certainly not how it worked in the Victorian times, I can promise you.
In the Victorian times. So much of this, I'm like, wait, was that Victorian? But she comes off stage and she speaks to her cat, who is called Chuzzlewit, which is a Dickensian name. And which is interesting because they could have called the cat like Ebenezer. But they
Can I just have on record? We've had a lot of animals, right?
We have.
Yeah, and we've had dogs and elephants and polar bears. And this is the worst one for me.
Oh, you didn't like it?
I fucking hate Chuzzlewit.
Oh, you hate Chuzzlewit?
I think the character model is awful. I think I don't understand the point of it. I understand the point to sell toys.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see any Chuzzlewit toys, but because he, well, I assume it's a he.
I assume it's a he.
Because it's from Martin Chuzzlewit, like you said, doesn't talk or anything. It's got human teeth. Oh, it's just
it's got sonic teeth.
yeah, it has got sonic teeth. Before that was a thing. Are you going to tell me you like Chuzzlewit?
I like Chuzzlewit.
No, is this the first time we've fundamentally disagreed on anything?
So. He's like a really fat, lazy, expressive, weirdly sarcastic, chunky little cat that's really fluffy, and everybody interacts with him in quite an interesting way, and he's got enough personality, but he doesn't take over. He's not annoying, and we'll put a pin in that because something comes back around in the middle of this movie about that. But I was like, he's silent, he doesn't speak, which I appreciate, because the only animals that have spoken so far that I've been 100% on board with have been the princess and the pauper animals, because they can't speak to humans, they can only speak to each other, whereas otherwise you either have a silent animal or you have an animal that can speak to humans, and it's hit and miss either way. But this one works as a silent animal that it has its own personality that's very big, and I really like the design. It's like a pillow. It's like a walking pillow with teeth.
I just didn't think it was realised very well. I'm a cat person, by the way. I'd much rather have cats than dogs. And I didn't like Chuzzlewit at all. He scared me, and I just thought that I did think the animation wasn't great on him, but we can agree to disagree. She's got she's got a fat cat.
A fat cat. That's a major part of the fucking story, apparently. And she comes off stage and she turns to her cat, Chuzzlewit, and she says, "I was trained in opera, Chuzzlewit. Opera!" And it's so funny. Immediately I'm on board with this character. They managed to find a voice actress that it's such a hard sell when you're doing a children's adaptation of A Christmas Carol, where Ebenezer Scrooge is meant to be so unlikable, and yet likable enough that we buy the 180 that happens in the end of the third act. And so obviously fucking blow the bloody doors off in Muppet Christmas Carol works, because already you're on board, because you're like, hey,
it's Michael Caine.
It's Michael Caine. That was my Michael Caine impression. I hope you enjoyed it. And I think they do a pretty good job at selling Eden Starling as someone that we are going to eventually sympathise with quite soon, to be honest.
And
as
of course,
well as enjoying her snobbishness.
And of course, there's a gender swap thing going on here.
Oh my god, is there a gender swap thing happening?
How
2016 move aside, like every single character in Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol is a woman in this one.
Yeah.
Every single one. It's amazing. I literally have I think I have a note about that. Like, yeah, love to see it.
But I think, so where I was coming to, in terms of the Ebenezer Scrooge character, which there's no, I don't think her name, I can draw, it's obviously that's it, but there's no, she's not like...
Yeah, you've got the initials, that's it, really.
That's what it is, yes, thank you. I was just thinking, why, they haven't done anything with it. But to make a woman the Ebenezer Scrooge character without turning her into something, a selfish cow, I think is what we would say.
Yes.
Which obviously also feeds into it.
Yes, completely. And I think she's a very well realised adaptation of this character for what this adaptation is and who it is for. So that's really good. And again, she comes downstairs, she meets her best friend Catherine, who she's known since childhood. And she's talking about the butter on her crumpets. And she's like, it's pooling, Catherine. Pooling! And just everything she does is just so enjoyably, like, extra. I'm really here for it. It's really nice. And she, like, flicks her hair in this very annoyed way. And even though the animation is very plastic, I've really noticed it more than ever in this film. The animations are very plasticky. They're very much trying to make them look like dolls. But it's also, they're giving all of the characters these like very personable traits that like Disney are incredibly well known for. How Belle will like push that flick of hair in her forehead out of her face and stuff. These kind of get into this and they just make them a bit more grand. Ghibli are also very good at doing that sort of thing. And I see it here in this movie. So I did enjoy that. She also said bar humbug quite early on, which I was like, hey. Well, so that was good. So it's a very short movie. We get into it very quickly. And yeah, absolutely every single character that you can think of in A Christmas Carol is male. And therefore, every single character that you can think of in A Christmas Carol here is female. So Marley becomes, what was her, Aunt Marie?
That's right. So this is the woman that raised Eden and forced her onto the stage for her premiere at the age of 14.
Yeah, raised her to be selfish because in a selfish world, selfish people succeed. That is a running theme of this movie. And she turns up covered in chains and
mirrors.
And mirrors, yeah, which ties into when we go to the flashback, we see the evolution of that, the origin of that, as it were. And it's not highlighted in an obvious way. It's just a nice little touch.
Yeah. Although I guess we've skipped ahead a bit, but because we haven't talked about some of the other characters.
Oh, sorry, yes.
But her ghost is a bit weirdly corporal and non-corporeal. It's like, is she a ghost? Are they ghosts, or can they touch real-life objects?
Yeah. So, going forward, if you're like a ghost or an ethereal presence in this movie, walls you just fall through, skies and everything you just go through, but floors are real. You can fall on the floor, but you'll fall through a wall.
And you can knock over a hat. You can knock over a hat stand.
Yeah.
And little dogs can see everything.
Yeah.
But that, that's okay. It's just, it was more about when Aunt Marie knocks over the hat stand with her chainy mirror things, and I thought, well, hang on, is she a ghost or is she not? It's okay because they are consistently inconsistent, if that makes sense.
Completely.
But yeah, so, I was just going to talk about the other friends,
the company of the theatre, as it were.
So we have
Freddie.
Yeah, Freddie the magician.
Yep.
Who's got a crush on Catherine.
Who's the costume designer at the theatre.
And Eden's best friend forever, who seems utterly shocked that Eden doesn't like Christmas Eve. Or Christmas, you've got to wonder how she hasn't noticed it before, but never mind.
Well, I think that's justified. I think it's actually quite well laid out. So
Yeah.
than that. But yeah.
Okay, fine. I'm happy to admit I missed it, but yeah, Freddie's not.
Freddie's bland.
Yeah, but he's not Ken.
This is the thing. There's no Ken
No.
in this movie. There's no overt love interest because it's a Christmas Carol. The lesson is going to be we're going to learn to love Christmas and rather than like fall in love. And so Eden, spoiler alert, doesn't have a love interest, which I didn't clock at the time because I was so invested in the Christmas Carol story, which is, you know, timeless and iconic. I didn't even notice it. So they've put in this bizarre sub romance of Freddie who wants to ask Catherine out on a date, which in Victorian England, did you swipe left and ask people out on a date?
So funnily enough, I watched a YouTube video where that was one of the main things a person didn't like this movie about. Said, you didn't go out on dates in Victorian times. And I'm thinking, well, this isn't real. Yeah. But
look at ghosts, so
move on. But no, you know, but obviously he's got a crush on Catherine. Catherine looks lovely. She
looks really good.
Yeah.
Really lovely designs. Again, I mentioned Barbie looked fit in this at the beginning of this movie. Eden has a beautiful design. She looks like she's got a really, really like stunning look to her. Catherine as well is a very beautifully designed Barbie. Like Barbies often very much look like Barbie, and Barbie is so like everyone knows what Barbie looks like now, so you're just like, it's Barbie, it's a pretty face, it's Barbie. But these people were really notably attractive in this movie.
And did you get the feeling Catherine was potentially ethnically ambiguous as well?
Oh, completely.
Yeah, I in my head, I assumed she was like an Indian, sort of Indian descent or something like that.
100% like a mixed race aspect going forward with her design.
Which was nice because we still haven't had a lot of
representation.
I think in the last movie the framing character was, and maybe we've seen bits and bobs around the place, but I just thought it was nice and you know and maybe this is a big thing at the moment in Victorian London. Were there lots of Asian and African people around? Well,
yes, there were.
You know, it probably wasn't floods of them, but they certainly existed, and certainly Indian people would have existed.
They 100% existed. They were in the courts of Henry VIII.
For sure. Oh, mate, there's evidence that there was an Ethiopian Roman soldier. You know, literally. So, but it was nice that it was. You know, there was representation there.
Not every single person was like Snow White.
And it was nice that Catherine is actually different to Eden, but I still bought that they maybe were friends.
Completely. Really, really nice example of female friendship. Really like solid, like well written. Like I'm in a fragile state at the moment, but like I was watching it and I was like believing in their friendship and recognizing traits of it in my own life and mirror images of it in my past. So I was like, this is actually, someone has written this script. This is the thing. I want to shout out to whoever like had a say in writing this script, because I didn't laugh out loud at any point. But it was just really nicely written. It felt not meta, but quite, characters reacted in ways that I respected and appreciated given what was going on. It wasn't pandering, it wasn't patronizing, it wasn't what you'd expect Barbie to react in situations as. It was like real. It felt quite real and grounded.
Do you know what what I thought? I've got some issues with this movie later on, but in terms of what you're talking about, what I liked was that Barbie was the Scrooge character. Yeah. You could have easily had that be some other invented model, and Barbie could have played the Catherine character because she's morally Barbie, right? So I thought that was really interesting. I will say, Freddie being boring is the least problematic of all the other characters.
Yes.
Because
there's Freddie, the stage musician. There are those ballerinas.
Anne and Nan, the twin ballerinas that finish each other's sentences.
Oh God, which thankfully doesn't happen often, but when it does, you're like, please stop.
And that is a thing, right? I know identical twins who do that, right? I've seen it happen, but that's the only thing. That's their only character. Oh God, I can't even talk anymore. I can't say character. Character trait. Thank you, editor, for keeping my meltdown of language in the show. Yeah, they're annoying, but they're nothing compared to what the fuck is Maurice, the French juggler who's on his. I mean, he's French for no reason.
They're like, we don't have an ambiguously foreign character in our movie yet, so we should probably do that. And you're like, what?
And he speaks with a French accent, but sings with an English one. He's on his unicycle juggling tomatoes. What is his point?
I don't know. Like,
why
he
give
so
him?
Easily didn't need to have a bizarre accent, but we've seen that throughout. Like, people arrive and their pet will start speaking in some bizarre accent, and you'll be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like,
but he could have just been.
Oh my God! Like, we want representation, but we want actual representation.
I didn't think French people was a thing that.
What?
Yeah, what we really need is a French juggler.
I wanted to try out my French accent, like, just stop.
I mean, maybe if they made him look like a Poirot doll or something. No, it's not Poirot. It's not Poirot. Poirot's a Belgian detective. But you know what I mean, that whole white face paint with the black makeup on. I could, and that might have even been time appropriate. I'm not sure. I need to look it up. But it's just weird. And I'm like, why? And I know they needed, what is this place, Emily? This theatre?
It's like a rep theatre company run by a woman that has no business sense or money, it would seem, other than from her own talent. So she's managed to invest in a theatre and a company, and they do variety shows that end in her opera finale. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I really want to go out and watch a clown, a magician, freaky ballet dancers, and top it off with a bit of opera. I mean, I get it.
That's like a bit of opera that's like. So this is 2008. Joel Schumacher's 2004 Phantom of the Opera came out 4 years prior to this. So she's singing "O Christmas Tree," one of the arguably most bland of the carols, but she manages to sneak in at the end this whole like. Like very end of like Think of Me from Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera bit. And I think the indication is that she's like, I'm an opera singer, I don't want to just be singing Christmas carols. But I would like to return your attention to the fact that she owns the theatre and the company.
Yeah,
which doesn't have to do.
Which is why. So this is where it falls down to me. The obvious thing to do would be to have a theatre owner who was the Scrooge character, who is making her do the stuff she doesn't want, because no one else is making her sing Christmas carols, only herself. And then he or she would then make them work Christmas Day, which is the thing. By making her a local businesswoman who's shit at her own business is a bit weird. And I think
it's a bit redundant. It's a bit sort of like thoughtless, and it didn't really cross my mind while I was watching the movie. Like I bought into the world because
same.
I was aware of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, it's same. It's only since we've been.
Children would do the same, but
of course, it's only because we're grown-ups and I'm thinking about it now, and I'm not into it to nitpick. I'm into it. There's been a couple of times where the writers of these films have made some fantastic ideas, and then some really like. Bizarre. How did this get past meeting one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I'm thinking of it, it's not going to be incredibly insightful.
It's like draft one. It's like, wait, what? Like, no one heard that and went, wait, what? They all just went, yeah.
Let's get on with it. Let's get on with it. But yes, anyway, so there is this subcast of people of whom who work for Eden, and
which
she's a
fill
shit
in
too.
As all of the sort of nephew Freddie and Bob Cratchit roles.
Yeah,
so sort of filled in, and his workers. They all sort of are in this company, as it were.
So Catherine is sort of Bob
She's
Cratchit,
essentially Bob Cratchit,
but with distance.
but also kind of not.
Yeah, a distance between her and Tiny Tim more than Cratchit's Tiny Tim.
Yeah. So Aunt Marie arrives, a la Marley, not as a doorknob, just as the chains, and she's like, "Yo, you'll be visited by 3 spirits." And she has a line where she's like, again, this screenplay is just sort of littered with these things that aren't like laugh out loud funny, but just like every character is just like vaguely amusing. They really took it for a Barbie movie. They really took on board the fact that everybody could be like kind of a little bit more sarcastic and darker than we're used to. And I'm not saying they're like very dark, but she's like, oh, you could change your nightgown. I mean, with the money you make, you could get one so much better. Like, it just like little snidey little snips like that. Just very like fun, littered in throughout. So then we're visited by the 3 spirits, because this is at a breakneck pace, because it's an hour and 18 minutes, which is the perfect length for a movie, FYI. I don't know if I like the 3 spirits or not. Do you know what I mean? They're all so different and individual.
I have different opinions on each one.
Yeah.
What I will say is, the Ghost of Christmas Past is one of the most fucking annoying people
She's so annoying.
I've ever come across.
She's like this rough. When you consider that in Muppet Christmas Carol, which is what I'm always going to revert back to, it's this like bizarre, ethereal puppet that's basically a shard of light in a nightdress with this shock of red hair that's like, if you come with me, you might die. Like, it's ominous and it's frightening, but it's intriguing and it's innocent all at the same time, because it's majestic, and the Muppet Christmas Carol is one of the greatest movies ever made. Here we have like a rough cockney that's like, oi, Ebenezer, you want to come with me and have a look at your childhood? And you're like, oh my god.
It's like a prepubescent female Jack Sparrow, and not in a good way.
It is. Oh my god. And yet, Eden manages to ground us, because we're in this like bizarre lit up tunnel where she's like, by the way, I really felt I needed to tell you, I'm a massive fan of yours. I really like how you're a soprano and an opera singer, and I really like hearing you sing. Oh, is me being a fan odd for you? And Eden like looks around at the like glowing tunnel of like sheer light and weirdness that she's in, and she's like, yeah, that's not the part that's odd for me. And it's just really nice. I was like, nice.
There is, there's a kind of British humour to the whole thing. Do you know what I mean?
That's what it is. That's what it is. That's why I
kind of
appreciate it.
Sarcastic-y, deadpan-y.
Yes.
Just pointing out the obvious, which I feel
it wasn't
is
like meta, but you're right. It was that like deadpan sort of like, huh, really? You think? Kind of vibe that was littered throughout. That I was like, it's not very Barbie, but I'm really into it. And you're right, it's because it's what I'm used to, because of where I grew up.
Yeah, I think so. I think there are differences in humour and some things cross over, but it felt like this could be the kind of jokes you'd hear on some secondary level BBC Two sitcom. Yeah. You know, not classic, but there's a character there that just says what they see, and that's kind of funny because
and that kind of works.
Because everybody else isn't. But yeah, I didn't like the voice acting. I didn't like the character design. I didn't like...
Yeah, it was very nothingy. She had like an Ariana Grande ponytail and like a sort of ballet-esque dress that was mainly made of light. And she was just very sort of rough and ready and overtly extra. But that like... So clearly they were going for the sort of childlike aspect. I've not read A Christmas Carol, Hands in the Air. I don't know how it's described in the book, but I imagine that there's this idea of youthful innocence and energy that which is what people use to take on through the adaptation. But yeah, weakest of the three, I think. Hard to find a good line. Again, we were blessed. We were hashtag blessed.
Yeah,
by Jim Henson.
But ironically, I think the bit of the story which she introduces is the best bit.
Yeah, really
or for me anyway. I you know,
and it's because we touch back in with our base of our outside structure, which doesn't usually happen. The framing device is usually literally that. It's a beginning and an end. But here we're sort of dipping in and out, and this is the first time we check back in with Barbie and Shelly, because we start to see some like past trauma, and a conversation starts to arise around, oh, shit, that sucks. Oh, I thought you hated this character. Oh, well, you know, I didn't realize that she suffered in her past. Oh, well, you know, maybe we should consider that going forward when we meet people.
Know, yeah,
and it's quite mature. And obviously I'm paraphrasing massively.
Yeah. So you're right. I hadn't realised. I think, is this the first time we have a sort of flash, a go back to the reality of the storyteller?
I could be wrong, but I feel like it is. Usually it felt quite bookended.
Usually we usually call it like a framing sequence, and in my head that's absolutely the beginning and the end. But here they take some time, and I guess it's really talking to the young audience, and it's just explained
themes, I guess, and so it's sort of breaking them down.
Just checking in, you understand what's happening here, you understand this was, and not everybody is as, you know, not everything's a straight line, blah blah blah. So it's kind of interesting. But even then, this is the longest I think we spend with a ghost in there.
Yes, always is. We're always spending too long in the past. You know, on Disney Plus, they're now reintroducing that song that they cut for a fucking reason. Sorry, controversial opinion. I know, don't come for me, don't at me. But they cut it for a reason, and they're putting the song back in. Muppet Christmas Carol. Like, fine, if you wanted to do the bit, pause it, go to YouTube, watch When Love Is Gone, come back, re-watch A Muppet Christmas Carol from where you left off. Putting it back into the movie, like, it was cut for a reason, lads.
Pacing, one assumes.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, we learn.
When love is gone.
Stop it.
When love is gone.
We can do the Muppet films in another podcast, I promise you. All right.
I'm sorry, it's just so intrinsically tied up in my head.
I know I can see. I've never read the book, but the Muppet Christmas Carol, that's the definitive.
It is, and I bet anyone that's read the book or studied it at fucking high school would say the same.
Oh, I'm sure there are people at Oxford and Cambridge studying the classics that would back you up and say,
back up my opinion.
That's like, but to be fair, Muppet Christmas Carol is a part of popular culture in a way that,
oh my God,
you know, maybe even exceeds the Muppets' own place in popular culture.
In a way that like Muppet Treasure Island never was, and Muppet Treasure Island is phenomenal. Like, it is a true masterclass in like everything.
But I think a lot of the Muppet films, you could start seeing Muppets Take Manhattan.
Most Wanted, good.
Most Wanted is sort of a recent one, isn't it?
Love it.
And even the first Muppet movie, they're all part of the popular culture canon. But I do think Christmas Carol, because it's related to a specific time and place, you know, you probably don't watch Muppet Christmas Carol, I don't know, in October, like we're watching this film. But you might, or end of September, or actually maybe in June when I first watched it. You would have to watch Muppet Christmas Carol at Christmas, right?
You have to.
And so yeah. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Muppets. we go back and we find out all about Barbie's
sad childhood. She was forced to practice like stage mom vibes from Aunt Marie. Very sad. No Christmas decorations in the house. So she's always been intrinsically layered in with this idea of hating Christmas. But she would pop over to Catherine's, who were massive Christmas freaks, and put on these like repertoire shows where Catherine would do the costumes and she would arrange the music and they would perform for the family. So like so like Catherine's a massive part of her life, which is then why you completely believe why Catherine is still on Eden's side when they're like 30, because she's like, I know what this girl is like. I grew up with her. Like, she just had a really tough childhood and none of you appreciate that. And now she's a massive superstar and she doesn't quite know how to balance those two aspects of her life. But I know who she is deep down, and I just hope that she'll find, if we're just kind to her, which essentially is all that it takes, she'll find that balance within her and come back to being the really enjoyable, like enthusiastic person I know her to be. And it's so true, like true friends truly know each other and will stick it out for each other through the worst times. Like, we can assume that this diva phase has been happening for what, like 3 years, maybe?
Well, so she says she made her first appearance when she was 14.
But she hasn't become a massive star until she's like, what now? Which is probably, I mean, it's a Barbie movie, so let's be honest, they're all probably like 18.
20, well, I was thinking mid-20s.
Yeah. Okay,
something like that.
But to build up to have your own theatre and your own rep company, like, she's probably had that in the last like couple of years.
Oh, and she's
maybe even just a year.
I think, and she's a superstar, right? With the fucking Ghost of Christmas Past is a fan, right?
Exactly. A fucking ethereal being from the realm of spirits is a fan of Eden Starling, but who doesn't have any staff or management to run her theatre, whatever. But like, yeah, Britney Spears made her debut when she was like 9. But no one knew who Britney Spears was until she was like 16. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, she was in the Mickey Mouse Club.
So it's that kind of, and even before that, she was on like talent shows that were on television in America, and then she was in the Mickey Mouse Club, and then she became a number one overnight sensation at the age of like 16, 17 or whatever. So like, I can believe that Eden's only been a massive bitch for like a short enough period of time that Catherine is still holding out for the Eden that she like knew and loved and grew up with. And
maybe, and it's not, I don't know, you could tell me if I've misunderstood, it's probably only at Christmas she's a bitch.
Yeah, because she has trauma from it.
Absolutely.
Because she visits Catherine and she has a wonderfully glorious, beautiful, gorgeous time, and then her aunt bursts in at the end. And she's like, we need to leave. And the Ghost of Christmas Past is like, what? Oh my God, why? And she's like, no, please, we need to leave. And she's like, oh my God, they were like, let's stay. And then like the aunt comes in and she's like, and like yell. And she's like, she yelled the whole day. She ruined everything. It sucked. And it's minimal and it's an hour and 18 long movie for children. But that's like, imagine that. Like, imagine that as a real thing that happened. But it's very real. This is the thing with this movie. We're not dealing with dragons and princesses and swans and all of this shit. Like, we're dealing with, I've had Christmases that have gone like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, really poignant, traumatic Christmases that have been notably awful because of people's human behaviour. And that's what we're experiencing in this movie.
I mean, it's not as bad as, say, Gremlins, where poor Phoebe Cates' character, Christmas is...
Oh my God.
It's defined by the fact that...
trauma was until I watched Gremlins.
Yeah. Interestingly, a film set at Christmas that was released in June.
Oh my God.
So, is it still a Christmas movie?
Prizes. He was dressed as Santa Claus.
Yeah.
There around 3 days. Oh, Phoebe, no.
That is one of the grimmest things in cinema. I would say. I love Gremlins. It's another film I love. But it is a time, and this is maybe, I'm not huge on Christmas, right? So just we'll be yin and yang on this one, right? Because it's a time where a whole bunch of people who spend most of the year not being close to each other, i.e. my family, and you introduce a lot of alcohol, nowhere else to go, and too many of you stuck in a room that's not equipped for it. For me, Christmas was, the presents and all that shit is great as a child, but I also knew that my family were going to be absolute fucking... This is before EastEnders was on, right? But it would be like EastEnders Christmas Day stuff. I think, divorce, shouting, fighting, blah, blah, blah. This is what Christmas... No, it's not like that anymore in my family.
Okay.
But
good to know.
That's the memory I have of,
completely.
Also, annoying fucking kids, i.e. me, hyped up on chocolate and candies.
Oh my god, yeah.
Being
toys.
Being spoiled. Oh, toys with fucking batteries in them. Noises going off. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
But the Christmas Day experience is not great for everybody. And this is,
It's a long old day.
And to be fair, I would have got well fucked off being with in that family with, oh my god, there's fucking shows to put on, let alone the food. It would have got me down so much. But I get it. It is a really, it's a really traumatic thing. And it's not like it happened on, I don't know, the 15th of April, a day that no one gives a shit about. Christmas fucking Day, which is an event that's in every calendar.
It's a military fucking ordeal in my household.
Yeah, and I get why this was a problem for Eden as well. Yeah, and this memory is strong and will get stronger around that time. So I know we're justifying a animated cartoon, but I think
what's so good about this movie. I think like it's really it does itself justice. It does really good stuff with what it's doing. Do you know what I mean? Like it's good stuff. So we come back and then we finally get to say goodbye to annoying Ghost. So then we get the Ghost of Christmas Present, who is the fun one. Always ginger for some reason.
She's an avuncular, cuddly aunt type character.
Yeah, in like a cute Christmas dress.
But I'm getting sort of Darling Buds of May vibes off her.
Very vibey.
Yeah.
So the main point of this one is that we learn that Eden's a bitch, nobody likes her, but essentially Catherine has got another show on the sly, which Eden is justifiably upset about, to a point. But we find out that this is where we introduce the like Tiny Tim character, which again, I love it so much. It's a fucking girl. It's so easily could have been. There's literally basically Catherine has been making costumes for a pageant that's happening at a local orphanage, of which there are only like 12 children here in Victorian England. Apparently, there's only 12 orphans in the district, so it's quite a decent district. But one of those orphans is like a boy that's like, "Oi, Catherine, it's so nice to see you," and you're like, "Hey, it's our Tiny Tim, I assume." And then the crowd parts, and this blonde, ringleted girl with a crutch steps forward, and Catherine's like, "Tammy, how are you?" And you're like, "Oh my god, even Tiny Tim is a girl." And what I love is that this boy orphan, he has the energy, and I know it's an animated movie, but he has the energy of an actor that came second in the running to play the role of Tiny Tim, and it was given to the girl. And he's making the most of his screen time. He really goes for it. And I'm here for it. But Tammy's our star, and she's so bland. And
I mean, she's Shelly. She's a Shelly Kelly, isn't she? I assume. With
like ringlets. Yeah.
Yeah. That look like snail shells, but
yes.
They do. They look like whelks, don't they, hanging off the back of her head? But
it does. It's so bizarre because I buy it and I'll allow it because I'm already vaguely on. We've softened enough to Eden that we're then willing to take this next sort of very big step where she just watches some poor parentless children be like, "We love you, Catherine, and we love your friend Eden, and now we're going to sing a song in the snow." And Eden's like, "Oh my god, this has changed me forever, fundamentally as a person." And you're like, really? Like, kids will just do that to you? Like, you just have like such an overwhelming maternal instinct that you're like, the children are the future. Like, it just... I both completely bought into it and was incredibly cynical about it at the same time. Does that make sense?
I think so. I mean, part of it's Eden's sudden turn. Does she have a flashback, or does it happen where or did I imagine it, where she has turned these kids away before?
No, I don't think so. There's nothing. They're obsessed with her. They're like, is Eden Starling coming because we're such big fans? But they've never met her. They've never experienced. They've never been in her presence.
In my head, and it might be one of the sort of review videos I watched in preparing this, and they may have just put a clip up from something else completely different, but I had this fact that there was some guilt that she'd turned away the kids when they come around collecting money. There'd been some kind of it previously in Barbie and the Christmas Carol.
And that would make sense.
Maybe it didn't happen. Remember, as you say, and you rightly point out, this is a short little movie, and we're quite a long way into it before any of this stuff happens. But I buy what Catherine's doing. I don't understand why her best friend has never told her that she.
I don't know why she's never told her. I don't know why she's like was completely expected to be there that day, and yet the build up to it was, now that I have to have gone into work today and don't have to rush home for Christmas, I can go and see the orphans. So in theory, she was never going to go watch the pageant. She was never going to have time to drop off the costumes because she was going to be going home for Christmas. But everybody acted like she was always meant to be there. But like, again, I'm just like, what? It's a fucking Barbie movie. I'll allow it.
Yeah, but there is a big fuss that she makes about going home, right? Yet she's also doing this, and she's been doing this on the side for a long time.
Yeah, she was always sort of meant to have been there for the pageant. It just so happened to fit in around her work hours.
Again, we don't know that she wasn't lying to Eden, saying she was going home when really she was doing this. But then I don't understand why this is a big fucking secret. Anyway, it's fine. It's just another example that we've had a couple of times in a couple of the movies where they overwrite when it's not necessary. I can't remember the other one that it clearly happened in, but let's put a load of extra plot in that's utterly not needed and never really comes to anything. And kids are cleverer than we sometimes give them credit for, but
100%.
But there's a lot going on here. There's Christmas carols. There's time travelling. There's ghosts. There's a lot of. We don't need Catherine to be a liar, which is what this movie kind of makes her out to be.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's a bit like, and she literally is like, I told Eden about you, and she wishes you all the best of luck. And it's like, no, you didn't, and not at all. Eden is just like, oh, that's sad. I want to visit them for realsies in person, and you're like, what? Okay.
And there's no reason that she's gone. At that point, she's gone through. She's got some big shocks to come, but she's kind of cool with it already. Now, maybe she's just being a bitch at Christmas. I don't know, but there's nothing. There's no sort of revelation that she's had yet that says anything more than, well, I'd have come if you'd asked.
Yeah.
I'm not against young orphans.
Yeah.
What gave you that idea?
Clearly, I'm kind of into them because, like, I was one.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Sorry, you've just. Absolutely, she was raised by her aunt, wasn't she?
Yeah.
So this is just weird. However, it is what it is.
It's fine. It works. Anyway, the orphanage is going to close because there's no funding, because it's Victorian England. And that's a real bummer. And that sucks. Anyway, Eden goes back home again. And by the time the third ghost visits her, she's like, I know who you are. Let's get on with this. Classic Dickensian stuff. And there's the Ghost of Christmas Future was the reason I couldn't watch A Muppet Christmas Carol until I was like 13 years old, because I used to get so frightened.
So in the original novel, the Ghost of Christmas Future doesn't talk.
Yeah.
The Ghost of Christmas Future is a hooded. You never see their. They're described as
horrendous. It's like, this is the thing. In the Muppet Christmas Carol, Gonzo is like, this is too scary for me. We'll see you at the finale. And as a kid, I was like, I'm sorry, if it's too scary for Gonzo, it's too scary for me.
Whereas in this movie, and I'm sorry to use this phrase, but the Ghost of Christmas Future is a MILF.
She's a bit of a MILF. She's a bit of a MILF. She like turns up in like a mysterious hooded manner. And then she like pulls down her hood and is like, "Hey, want to go to the future?" And you're like, "Oh."
I mean, she's not as sexy as Lydia from the last film. My inner workings are being exposed, but you know what I mean.
She's scale of Barbie MILF. She's like currently coming in at
We'll have another list. We'll have another list for that at the end. Who was the hottest Barbie character?
BDSM.
I just like it when they don't all look like Barbies and they've got different hair, different sort of clothing,
sure.
And it looks like they've done some character work. But why one of the scariest creatures in literature?
Yeah.
They turn into...
They could have made it like an entity. They could have made it like animalistic. They could have really gone to town, but they were like, no, it's going to be another hot Barbie lady. And you're like, all right, she looks like the hot aunt that goes to foreign countries from the Nutcracker, but all right.
Exactly. That's another one like that. Why? Why? And
they've got a character design. They're going to use it.
I'm not even sure they did a doll, but maybe that was the idea. But I don't think there are a lot of dolls for this movie, actually. But yeah, but she comes and describes this terrible future where I've forgotten her name. Eden has sacked everybody. And Catherine turns into a bitch.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. So Catherine's a massive bitch. What the fuck? It's very Devil Wears Prada. It's very like learnt from the best. Like my friend was a cow, and she told me that being selfish and hating Christmas was the pinnacle, and then she fired us all on Christmas because we were late, and therefore now I hate Christmas and am a weirdly bad business-minded bitch.
Yeah, I've become Eden. Okay, that is the cutest sneeze ever. I want that as my ringtone on my phone. Yeah, I mean, it is. I don't know if I can keep going, but no, it is what we expected from the future. Although it gets darker and darker.
This is the thing, because I think I wrote in my notes, I was like, oh my god, here we go, the ghost of Christmas fucking yet to come. Like, are we going graveyards? Are we going to see the inevitable death of Eden Starling? Are we going to see the death of Tiny Tim, Tiny Tammy? Like where are we going with this? And it's like, I love it. I love what they do with it. But part of me was like, I wanted Barbie to go hard or go home. Like, I wanted to end up in a graveyard looking at Eden Starling's gravestone. Like, this is a bit of a bummer because, like, I know how hardcore this moment can go. And I know we're not going to go there because this is Barbie and A Christmas Carol. But, like, wouldn't it have been great if they had?
Oh, absolutely. And this is maybe... I've got a feeling we have slightly different opinions on this movie, which is... only the second time I think that's happened.
Yeah.
I know the target audience, but like we just talked about, she has a complete softening in Christmas Present or Christmas Tomorrow or whatever the middle section is, and this doesn't go dark enough for me. I think it is suggested that Tiny Tammy isn't going to make it.
I mean, not only in the sense that, like, oh, the orphanage is going to close, and then if you're, like, smart, you're going to be like, what would the consequences of that be to the children? They'll end up on the street dying of hypothermia.
And I don't think there's any consequence to Eden. Is there?
No, like, she had absolutely nothing to do with... There's no... Like, even Tiny Tim is a stretch for Ebenezer Scrooge because he's just like, that's a cute child, and then it's like, the child's dead, and you're like, oh, that sucks. But fundamentally, it's really tapping into the, like, deepest part of a human person and empathy, which is the whole point of Scrooge. But even then, it's, like, very vague. It's like, he didn't really give a shit about Bob Cratchit. He definitely didn't know about the existence of Tiny Tim before, like, yesterday. So, like, oh no, now this one kid has changed his entire outlook on life. Okay, whatever. It's a fucking stupid mini parable written in a magazine for Christmas times by a fucking failing author who's, like, got mental problems. But, like, here it's even worse in that it's like she didn't know of the existence of the orphanage. She didn't know that it was even a problem. Why would she care? She's never indicated that she wants or likes children. Like, why does Tammy have it? Like, Tammy's not even gonna die. Or, like, it's more about her career and her friend finding success and her friend being a massive bitch and her seeing her own poverty and personality reflected in her friend. To be honest, here it fucking comes, mate. Barbie in A Christmas Carol has more of an emotional and empathetic impact than the original Christmas Carol. Gary said it.
Well, there's a hot take.
That's a fucking hot take. And that may be the Prosecco talking. But I think I'm onto something here because of everything that I just said.
Well, I don't know what to say. I feel the opposite.
Like, no, seeing your friend mimic your own behavior, like seeing your behavior laid out in front of you because you've infected your friend who was supported you and was there for you this whole time, and seeing your own horrific behaviors that you've only become enlightened and empathetic to in the past like 24 hours laid out in front of you via somebody that you have known all of your life, love and adore, and has been a support mechanism for you through thick and thin, who you've supported in each other and helped each other throughout your careers as well as your own lives. To see that happen in front of you is incredibly impactful and frightening, especially to see yourself in such a vulnerable position, both mentally and physically and financially and geographically and all of these things, compared to some bloke that works for you's sick son who you didn't know about existed, and then now he's dead, and that sucks, but it's not really your fault. Like, it's not really your fault. Like, if you'd given Bob Cratchit that pay rise, maybe Tiny Tim would be alive, but, like, probably not, because the NHS didn't exist yet. Like, I don't know. Like, if the boy has something wrong with his lungs, there's not much the smog of London is going to do to help that. So, like, you know, like, so in a way, Barbie and A Christmas Carol brings the point home harder. I don't know.
Well, no. I don't normally do this, but you've kind of sold me on that. It somewhere in that rant. No, and it wasn't a rant. It was in that monologue, which is normally my thing more than your thing, isn't it? So that's kind of cool. No, I think it's the fact where you said it. Your friend has become a mirror of you.
Yes.
And that you have that self-realization to know that's what it is. That's kind of interesting, and that's a different take. You know, you're right. The original story is a sort of it's social history as well as a fictional tale.
Britain as well as an empathetic tale in humanity and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. Where this is a Barbie movie, but I'm sort of going to go somewhere else with this, but obviously. In a lot of, I'm going to say, sort of female friend culture in movies and animated cartoons, if there's any other sort of cartoon, there is this sense of peer pressure, this sense of a group of girls that all act in the same way, whether it's Heathers or Bratz or whatever. Yeah. It's or Mean Girls or any of that. There's this thing where people copy the alpha's behaviour to fit in because you see it succeed. So it's kind of related to that. So Catherine says, actually Eden's really successful. Yeah, she kicked me out. But do you know what? What was it the aunt says? In a
selfish world, selfish people succeed.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure that's a piece of sage advice, period. But within the context of this movie, it is. And therefore, I get it. This isn't as dark as I wanted it to be. This doesn't feel like a Christmas Carol. It's far too soft.
But was it ever going to?
Well, of course it wasn't. And so I can always go and watch a Muppet Christmas Carol.
You can.
Or I can watch Scrooge, or I can watch some old version of it from the 1960s, or I can go and watch it in a play, or I can pick up the book, right, and read it for free. if I want to do that. is it Barbie's place? And it's never been Barbie's place in any of these adaptations to retell the original story. Yeah. The Nutcracker, Rapunzel, Swan Lake, Princess and the Pauper.
Yeah.
Have there been others? I don't know. No, I think that's about it. Have not.
12 Dancing Princesses.
Yes, although that's a fairy tale I didn't know of. But yes, they have not replicated the Hans Christian Andersen story or the ballet or anything like that. They've told their own story using that as a kicking off point. Mm-hmm. And yes, this has the framework of A Christmas Carol. Yeah. Yeah. Shitty person visited by spirits that show them how they got where they are today, how today's so bad, and what's going to happen if you don't fucking sort your life out.
Yeah.
Within a Barbie context, this is fine. There's a lot of interesting, other than Chuzzlewit, which I'm glad you haven't spoken about much. There's a lot of nice stuff in this movie, and I know we've had a go at bits of it, like the theatre and stuff like that. But actually, the guts of it, the story being told to its core audience of 8 to 9 year old girls, or whatever it is, this is what it was going to be. It's always what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And there is horror in there, but the horror isn't in the future per se. It's actually back in the past, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tale in grief and trauma, which is pretty dark and mature for Barbie. And
I think I've probably given enough away to say I actually probably have more in common with this movie because of I don't really like Christmas either, for reasons which I've half explained, than I would do with the Dickens tale, being as I'm not a self-made entrepreneur with hundreds of people that work for me. Yeah, completely. But I am somebody who's had shitty Christmases.
Completely.
So there you go.
I think everyone can relate to having shitty Christmases, and that's what's really highlighted in this movie. That actually Christmas can be kind of shitty, and what makes it good is your own choices on the day and what makes you happy. So we come out of the Ghost of Christmas Future, and I didn't get overly emotional, but I got a little bit emotional, just because again the story itself is so iconic. In the moment where she wakes up on Christmas morning and she's like, oh my God, good, what, I haven't missed it. And that moment, and I watch Muppet Christmas Carol every single year. I know the fucking story inside out. But in this moment when Barbie woke up and was like, oh my God, I haven't missed it. I can change my actions. I can make better choices. Let's fucking go. I was like, oh my God, I get it. I feel like I'm getting A Christmas Carol for the first time. I feel like I'm really hearing what's going on here. That someone is making a choice to change their actions and to change their behavior because of the impact of those around them and their own future self. And it was really emotional, and I really, really loved it. And then she has that attitude going forward. There's no fake outs. I love it. Muppet Christmas Carol does the thing where Michael Caine's like, Bob Cratchit, why aren't you at work today? And then he's like, I'm going to give you a pay rise. And he's like, oh, great, come in. And it's a great little fake out. But there's no need for a fake out here, because she's just fundamentally like, you get a present, you get a present, you get a present. None of you are fired. Go home for Christmas. I love you to pieces. Let's go to the orphanage. I love all of you. Let's go. I'm a special guest star. Let's go. Oh my God. Cake for everyone. Here's your date. Have in Victorian England. Have a date. It's for you. We're going to drive to your parents because I know that's what's important to you. And in all the Barbie movies, friendship is fucking magic. And friendship is key. And Barbie is in love with Catherine, and I won't take no for an answer in that.
I knew you were going to shoehorn that in there.
We got so close to the end before Emily was like, and also Barbie's a lesbian.
But she probably is. I can imagine, Victorian times, there'd be two spinsters living in the same house. Freddie hasn't got a chance. He's too boring.
Yeah, he's too boring.
But
he has 9 lines.
So you make, because I think one of the points you were making there was that this feels like a change that's going to impact the rest of their lives.
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas in A Christmas Carol, Bob Cratchit has a nice meal with his family and Scrooge, and Tiny Tim doesn't die.
Yeah. Which, like, is weird.
But how's this? Yeah. How is this going to affect Scrooge going forward? Because he's an old fella, right?
Yeah.
You know, actually, does he die the next day? Because
could do.
He's fixed it. I can't remember. It's been a long time. So anybody that's listening saying, "You idiot, Stephen," that's how the Christmas Carol ends. But in this case, I sense that this isn't just a change for Christmas Day.
Yeah.
This is a genuine change in behaviour for every day. Yeah. And I think that's almost a more powerful message, especially to the target audience. Yeah,
absolutely.
A change you make today,
like, I'm
is
30
forever.
And I felt like I'm gonna make good choices from here on out. Like, it's really good. It's really good. I mean, it's very bold because, like, basically Freddie turns up and he's like, "We're going on a date, but like, first I'm gonna drive you to a parent's house." So their like first date is him meeting the parents. This is very bold, but like I'll allow it. It's fine because they're not gonna last, and Catherine and Eden are gonna get together, so that's fine. So yeah, I really liked it, and then we come back to the framing device, and Shelley's like, "Whatever, I like Christmas now. I guess I'll go to the gala." And some random friend turns up and is like, "Where are you?" And Barbie's like, "Well, it's taken me an hour and 10 minutes, but I've basically just told the story to Shelley and now she's going to come." And it's like, okay.
Also, Shelley, just going to tell you this now. You're like 9 years old.
Yeah.
You're not fucking starting. You're coming whether you like it or not.
Yeah, you're like 7. You have no choice in this matter.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. As a dad, I wouldn't have told the fucking hour-long story.
Yeah,
they can come.
Get in the car.
And you know what? Once they got there, they fucking loved it because it's a fucking ball with food and dancing and music and loads of.
Shelley, get in the car.
But however, it's very nice of Barbie to tell this to her.
Yes.
Suspiciously young sister.
Yes. And it's very Christmassy. Like, it's quite a Christmassy little flick.
And you have softened me on it.
Yeah.
I
saw you 2.5 stars on Letterboxd. I saw it.
Yeah. Well, I don't always want to check my Letterboxd out if it's a film I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
Elwood falls into this on the Asian Cinema Film Club, where he thinks I hate a film because I put a low rating on, but it's just to fake you guys out. Because you don't. No. I thought it was average. 2.5 ain't bad. That's average, right?
Yeah,
and I'm just looking at our list, although we haven't updated the last 2 films we watched. So I don't know where they were, but I do know.
Oh, we have. Barbie and the Diamond Castle is there. It's at number 13.
Is it? I'm looking at our Google Doc and it's not updated.
Oh, I've not updated the Google Doc. I'm on Letterboxd, which is updated.
That's right. You're fine. Anyway, so where was Mariposa?
So Mariposa.
They're the 2 I'm not seeing, but I'll go to
3.
So we did like Mariposa. Good. Okay.
Mariposa is at number 3.
So then?
Barbie and the Diamond Castle is at number 13.
Yeah, we hated Diamond Castle.
We fucking hated. That's what I was going to say. Just to go way back to like the middle of the movie, a dog appears to make the point that animals can see other spirit animals or whatever. So the cat gets into like vague mischief with some like vague dogs in the past, the present, and the future dream world. But the dogs are based on the same design as the
those
dogs from
fucking
Barbie and the Diamond
dogs.
Castle. And it made me remember Barbie and the Diamond Castle, and it made me violently angry and probably swayed me towards liking this movie more because it wasn't Barbie and the Diamond Castle.
Okay, so yeah, I thought we'd like Mariposa. That was yes. Okay, it's been because you've been pumping out the episodes very, very quickly recently doesn't mean we didn't record them a long time ago.
We did record them a very long. We had like almost a year's break. I'm not gonna lie, everyone. That was on me and my career. But just to catch everyone up on the list so far, you can go to letterboxd.com/magical_willow and look in my lists to find the In A Barbie World leadership board. Coming in at number 14 is Barbie Fairytopia Magic of the Rainbow, which was a pile of shit. Followed very closely by Barbie and the Diamond Castle, which we fucking hated. Then it was Barbie and the Rockers Out of This World, which was the very first installment, so no judgment there. Barbie and the Nutcracker following that, which was the second. Barbie as the Island Princess, I think we just felt was a massive disappointment. Barbie as Rapunzel, again, one of those major 3 colours trilogy at the beginning of the franchise. Then the Barbie Diaries, which was one of the first ones that we were quite split upon, followed by Barbie and the 12 Dancing Princesses, which, you know, is fairly average. Barbie and the Magic of Pegasus, again, could have done with a script rewrite, but fundamentally pretty good. Barbie Fairytopia, very solid. Barbie of Swan Lake coming in at number 4, doing a very good job staying so high in the rankings. Then at number 3 is Barbie Mariposa, which was outstanding, followed by number 2, Barbie Fairytopia Mermaidia, which is one of the best movies in existence. But of course, still in at number 1, I don't know what's going to shake it, if anything, is the iconic Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper. So here
do you know,
are,
it's almost as if you work in radio. That countdown then, I wanted da, 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 da. Coming in at number 9, it's the Barbie Diaries, a film that only Stephen liked.
It's a skill I didn't know I had.
Yeah, it was brilliant. We need, if you can, put that music in underneath. It was great.
Yeah, I could do.
But actually, that was as much for me as it was for our audience to remember where we put everything. Because I'm struggling with this one because I came into it.
Right?
I didn't think, you know, the bottom few movies there's utter agreement on. Okay.
Yes.
I've got no problem with them being shit.
Oh yeah.
And this was never down that far. I just struggled with it because it's not really very Christmas carol-y. It's a bit soft. But you've actually reframed my understanding of the movie to your world, and to me, it's not a top fiver.
No.
I'm not a, you know, Christmas carol. We've skipped over the singing and stuff like that, which not great on. But I am thinking it's maybe one above the Barbie Diaries.
Wow. I was thinking the same. I was either going to put it above the 12 Dancing Princesses or just under the Dancing Princesses, which puts it in at above the Barbie Diaries. So I'm happy to compromise and put it in at, it would be number 8.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
I think that's solid. I think that's fair.
The Dancing Princesses
had that great villain in Catherine O'Hara, had brilliant multiple Barbies, great dancing sequences, really nice music, great plot, like solid movie, solid adaptation of a fairy tale. Barbie and A Christmas Carol, again, very solid movie. Really, really enjoyed it upon reflection, I think. Like just, you know, not gripping. It's no Mermaidia. But
it doesn't make me angry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, anyone listen to our last episode, you were fucking angry about Diamond Castle, and I was kind of angry, but I wasn't even in the same league. The one that made me angry was, of course, the third Mermaidia movie. A Fairytopia movie, Magic of the Rainbow, which I thought was just like the worst thing we've watched. But
I don't know that anything will go below that. I think that's solid. I think we've got solid bookends, and I can't say for sure because we've got like 40 more movies. But
and they've announced another one in the last couple of weeks. I don't think we'll ever finish, Emily. But
this is never ending. But
there is this middle section, this chunky bit of the sandwich, right? That we are going to struggle to fit things into, and maybe at some point we might just want to readdress it. But it feels like it fits in there, and I do. You know, I'm also I appreciate that my love of the Barbie Diaries has given it an elevated position.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to give you your love of this film as an elevation. So I'm how magnanimous of me. But you know what I mean. I think it's very interesting that we quite often have similar tastes, but I think it's absolutely critical to the podcast that sometimes we utterly vary on it. And I'm not as varied on this as you are between you and me and the Barbie Diaries. And I'm waffling. Let's stick it
in at number 8, Barbie and A Christmas Carol.
And I think it will therefore, we know what's coming, right?
Yeah.
We've got about another 6 movies which will probably fit in this kind of world.
Is the thing. Like I feel like we've peaked. I think we're going to be in this middle 7 through to 11 ground for a while now. I saw briefly overheard the trailer for our next movie, which I think is Thumbelina.
Oh, yes, which is not the movie I thought it was.
No, already I'm like, I'm sorry, Hans Christian Andersen's Thumbelina, and they're like, no, forget everything you ever knew about Hans Christian Andersen's Thumbelina. And I'm like, I don't know that I'm willing to do that yet, so that will be an interesting watch and listen. This is a teaser for that, and I haven't even watched the movie yet, but I know already.
I'd caught the trailer. It must have been on the.
It was on the Barbie and A Christmas Carol. There was a trailer for it. So
remember, I had to buy it from Google Play, but it was also on the Diamond Castle, which ironically is one of my few DVDs that fucking plays. Is the worst one of the lot.
Honestly. Words cannot describe. I mean, we did an 1.5-hour long podcast about it, so perhaps words can describe. But I fucking can't stand Barbie every time. There was an advert for it on this movie, even though it came before it. There was an advert for Barbie and the Diamond Castle as I was trying to watch Barbie and A Christmas Carol, and I was fueled again with all of the rage that I previously felt, where I was like, "Fuck this movie! It's a fucking hot mess." I hate it so much.
With no redeeming features.
I've got 2.5 stars on it on Letterboxd at the moment. Let me amend that going forward immediately. It deserves half a star. Like, what was I thinking? Yes, so join us next time for... Is she is it Barbie as Thumbelina? Is it Barbie in Thumbelina? It's Barbie, Thumbelina. And
let's just hope it's the grammatical colon and not the biological one.
We can only hope.